One time I was on a blind date, said we go on a drive up the canyon, and he drives to this area where I don't have any service, and he starts joking about like if he were to kidnap a girl, he would take her there. And he was like joking about stabbing, and he said he had a gun in his car and kept pretending to pull it out. Yikes.
Oh my God.
What's up, guys? Talking about a big topic today, talking about dating. My name's Jared.
I'm Haley.
And we're from Gather Central, and we welcome you back to the fold. I feel like dating is something that everyone can agree on, everyone has a hard time with, everyone hates, it sucks, it's not really fun at times.
Well, yeah, and let's be clear, I think it depends on like where you are. You know, we're talking about probably most likely like a lot of Provo, Utah dating.
Right.
But we both come from different places. You know, I come from the South, you're from Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it really just depends where you're at, but essentially we're going to kind of dive into that, what that church culture means, what does dating mean. It's going to be a good
fun
time.
one. We're hoping not to get too heated today.
Right. Well, no promises. But that's all I can say. You know, you have a guy's perspective and you have a girl's perspective.
This is going to be Haley ranting about her dating life.
I'm a passionate person. I'm going to try and keep it together, but I just know that a lot of girls will be unified with me, just so you know.
On my Instagram, I asked people to send in some of their worst date experiences, and so Haley haven't seen any of these stories, but I wanted to read a couple of them.
I know, he hasn't read these to me yet,
and
so I'm actually really excited. This is like a first.
I got one guy that responded back to this.
Yeah,
a lot of girls send me multiple stories, and so I don't know what that's saying.
Like, can we talk about that first, though? Like, the fact that he puts a poll or whatever on his story, and almost every single person that responds is a girl. I think that kind of shows something. Men, guys, boys.
Guys got to step up.
Yeah.
Start having bad dates.
Or guys are too scared to share it because they're like, somehow she's going to find out that I submitted this. So I also understand that one.
Here's the first one. One of the worst is when my date took me to get crepes, and on the first date asked if we could share one. I said sure, but respectfully I wanted my own crepe and didn't want to share one.
Okay.
Understandable. Baby crepe on the first date. Once we got our singular crepe, he proceeded to ask me a lot over the line personal questions. One of the questions was, what would you do if a stranger came up to you right now and started kissing you? Like, what kind of question is that? He was condescending and kept correcting my opinions. I told him I needed to go home. He started playing some of his favorite music that he thought he needed to culture me on.
Oh,
the music in question was country and Broadway music. He started singing these songs at the top of his lungs while I sat there uncomfortably listening to him serenade me to Hamilton. Finally, he took me home, and this nightmare date would be forever seared in.
Oh my gosh. I feel like the whole aspect of like, hey, it's kind of getting late, like wanting to go home, but you don't know how to say it, but like they will not take you home. They'll just like park and like the music, that kills me. I hate that.
Why do you think like guys are hesitant to take you home when you ask?
How do I say this nicely?
Go off, girl.
I'm
Let's
not.
hear it. The people want to hear it.
If they ask you out and the date is going to be, let's go get dinner and then watch a movie back at my place, like, come on. I'm sorry, but...
Oldest trick in the book, gentlemen.
Like, that's what I'm trying to say, is that's why he's not taking you home. Like, to me, I don't know, the physical aspect of things, like, it depends on the guy, it depends on the situation. I would only hope that there would be good intentions there, but like...
It does kind of blow my mind, because I feel like, personally, like, if someone asked to go home while I was on a date with them, I'm taking them home because that's so embarrassing for me. And
and it's embarrassing to say. It's embarrassing to say, like, to be like...
I'm not enjoying it.
I don't even know how to... So what you'll get, though, so this is what I'm saying, is girls will not be confrontational in that way. So you're going to hear, I have homework, I have to get up early, it's getting kind of late. Like, you'll get those, but, like, inside, it's like, literally take me home. I hate this. Just the whole safety aspect of things, too. It's just, like, it's so hard when a girl is in a vulnerable position. Because the guy, you control everything. I'm sorry, on a date, physically, like, anything, you control everything. It's on your plate, your responsibility to... be handling that, right? And so it's so scary because just like in seconds an experience can turn into like a traumatic one, and girls don't know how to handle that sometimes.
I totally agree with that. Like, it's really hard especially for a girl, because they can't just go home. I think maybe that's why guys don't have as bad of experiences, because most of the time they're the ones driving, they're the ones setting up the date. So if they don't like the date, they could just end it.
Like, as a girl, you are in a vulnerable position the entire time. And so it's hard because girls aren't being super direct because they don't want to offend, and then guys are just like, whoop, whoop. It's like going right over their head. It's just like, woof. I don't know. That combination is so sad, and that's kind of like, I'm obviously depending on the person. Like, I sure hope he doesn't have a gun in his car and is driving you to
that's a freaky one. I'm not gonna lie. That was like, I can't believe that. That's crazy.
Gosh, like find a normal one where we could like all like
agree with.
Yeah.
This is a very small detail in the whole thing, but how cheap do you have to be to buy one crepe and share one crepe? They're not that expensive.
Come on.
Like you don't have to go all out, gentlemen.
No, it's
like,
true, and I'm sorry.
One crepe.
Before a date too, a girl doesn't really know whether they need to like eat or not.
Yeah.
It'll be, oh, I'll pick you up at 6 or 7. So I'm like, okay, are we eating? What are we doing? Like, I don't know whether to eat a meal or am I gonna eat half of a crepe?
Yeah. Here's a fun one that we got while we were talking. I said I wanted to work in the mental health field, and he asked what that was. So I explained, and he said, that's stupid and unnecessary. And when I started to argue, he turned the car around and took me home. We had been out for maybe 10 minutes.
If someone took me home after 10 minutes of a date, it would take me a good, like, 3 years to go on another date. I'm not even gonna lie.
Fair enough. It's weird when guys, like, expect girls to, like, do certain things with their life. Like, I think, like, it's weird for me when a guy expects, like, their wife just expects them to stay at home. Now, if that's what they want to do, that's cool. That's up to you and your wife.
Oh my
but
gosh.
It's weird for me when they're looking for someone with the intent that they're going to be a stay-at-home mom.
That's so bad.
Let me ask you this. I was thinking about this question. Do you think girls should ask guys out more?
I honestly hadn't, like, thought about that for my entire, like, dating experience. But then I learned, okay, when you are going out with someone, honestly, this is what happens. The guy is asking the girl, or just saying, like, ask her out. And then the guy, it's literally all in his hands, especially if it's a first date, to plan everything, to, like, pay for everything, to, like, do everything. And I'm not gonna lie, I had never thought about how stressful that is until I did it. But I only did it in a way of, like, hey, we had been going out, and so I was just like, well, let me plan the next date. Right. And I just thought that would be, like, a nice gesture. And man, did I learn so much through that experience, because I was stressed out the entire time. I was like, literally like, is he even enjoying himself? Is this going to work? You're like pulling so many strings. I like didn't realize how hard it is.
Now you get a little bit like, that's how guys feel, you know, it's really scary kind of putting yourself out there, and like getting rejected is really tough because it takes a lot of manning up and confidence to try to ask someone out.
It's actually it's a really cool experience to like have it kind of be equal. Like the girl plans the next date and the guy then plans the next date. In my experience, it was like really cool to like be able to bond through that, where like you get to be the planner. Yeah. You know, and just like different things like that. So I'm just gonna say, like, I probably will never do that. Probably just like ask a guy out of the blue.
Why do you think that is?
Why?
So you don't think that you don't think we'll ever get to that point?
I think my pride, like,
right.
Honestly, I don't know. I just
it's
like
scary.
It is scary. Here's the thing, like, and that goes with dating as a whole. You put yourself out there and then you get rejected, or like like the fear is there, right? Girls take it way more like seriously though. To get rejected and be a girl is like so much. Yeah. To me, it hurts so much more than being a guy.
It hurts a lot for a guy. I will say from personal experience, it hurts a lot, but I think it manifests in a different way.
Yes. The girl takes it completely personally.
Yeah.
If you reject me in some kind of way, I'm like, cool. Like, now I got to rethink my life.
I feel like guys, they become more bitter and like, and they kind of manifest, and they don't necessarily say it out loud a lot, especially with other guys. That's a whole nother topic, is like guys being vulnerable. But I think it just manifests in like this bitter towards dating, bitter towards girls, and starts treating people a little bit differently, especially women. I feel like the more and more a guy gets rejected, the more bitter they start becoming towards women. They start just hanging around with their guy friends a lot more, the bros, if you will.
Yeah, I guess I haven't seen that perspective, because like obviously if they're not dating, then.
But I do feel like everyone gets to a point too, a lot of people, where they just start hating the other gender. Like, oh, Provo boys, Provo girls suck.
Yeah, that's hard.
Just because you get rejected. We need to learn how to handle rejection better. We all take it personally. It manifests different ways. Yeah. But it's very rarely like, it wasn't meant to be personal from the other person's point of view most of the time. Yeah. I feel like more often than not, when you get rejected, it has very little to do with you as a person.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It could be like that person.
It is the typical, it's not you, it's me. But like, I hate that people just throw that around, but it's like, It's 1000% true.
It's, yeah. And there could be things about you that just don't mesh with the other person. But like one time a girl did ask me out on a date.
Oh, good for her, man.
And I respect her. It was an awesome date, but I just wasn't like vibing. And I remember after that day, it clicked in my head and I was like, I don't have any problems with this girl at all. Like it was fun, great. She's awesome. Wish her the best, like hopefully. But it's just like we weren't vibing. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
But taking rejection is like, it's like it just happens. You just get rejected. Sometimes, I said this in the last one, you can be the sweetest peach. Some people just don't like peaches. It's just how it is. Some people don't like peaches, everyone. It's just how it is. But I think that's like the key to like making dating like an actually fun experience is to like handle rejection, because it's going to happen, because like there's going to be people that you don't like and you're not really into, you don't really feel that way. So
that's one thing I will say too, that's just like way different in Utah than like any other place, is that it's so weird what can like happen and change in like 2 weeks. The talking stage feels like forever, and then it's like if you're still talking after like 2 months, it's like insane. Like in Utah,
it's fast here. Like you've got people get,
that's what I can say,
like dating,
so fast.
engaged fast within months of each other. It's like it's fast, and there's a lot of pressure because of that around here.
Ew, and I hate that. Like, come on, we're 12 years old. Like, what are we doing? Where I'm from, if you go on a date with someone, it's like, oh, they're dating, right? It's like weird.
Interesting.
It's like you go on like a formal date, that's like you're dating. But then here it's like you literally make out with someone and just be like, yeah, we're buddies.
What are your thoughts on ghosting?
Ghosting? I don't ghost. I genuinely think it's really important to communicate why. Like why it's not working.
Even after a first date, if you don't want to go on a second one?
Yeah.
Do you still say something?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Well, yeah,
That's awesome.
because like, you know, the guy is going to like continue to try.
Right.
Unless it fizzles out. In that regard, like I'm never going to like flat out ignore someone. Like
Gotcha.
I mean, to my knowledge, I don't think I've ghosted anyone.
There's some guy that's sitting right now just like, you liar. You liar.
When I think back to it, like I tell them why, or like not exactly why, but just like, hey, I'm not like super into it. But that's always hard and awkward.
Yeah.
You never know. You're like, do I text him? It depends on who it is. Like, I would hope that you're not like breaking up with someone over text. But like, dependent, like if it's a first date, I don't know. You gotta like respect them. So call or in person.
I agree.
Or whatever.
No, I agree.
It depends.
I've been ghosted plenty of times. But I am in the opinion though that like it's cool that you do say something even after a first date, because I've always thought
I think
like
that's important.
after a first date, it's like it's fine.
It just depends.
Especially
it depends.
The culture around here, people just go on dates a lot. But I feel like for me, it's like after 2-3 dates, when there's enough time to like really get to know each other, I do feel like if you're gonna end it, the person like deserves somewhat of an explanation.
Yes.
Here's a personal story. There was a girl that we went on quite a few dates, and just like after one date, just it went really well, I think, and then just ghosted me, and I was like, what the heck? And I was at the point where I was kind of getting sick of like getting ghosted, and so like I finally, after like a week, I was like, hey, is everything cool? And then she finally told me how she was feeling. I'm like, that's cool. Like I totally, I got that from the ghosting, and like, but I'm like, at least for me, like I try to be understanding. I think I'm a pretty understanding person, so it was really annoying to like.
Yeah, it's like give me the respect.
Just like tell me,
right?
Because I get it.
That's
just
like
how it
respect.
is.
You know, like DTR. You know, like when it's just like defining the relationship too early, and that's why people are like kind of beating around the bush, and that's why people like don't want to communicate, and that's why people maybe like ghost and stuff. It's just like it's really weird because you're like, I don't want to seem like too much, but like I also want to communicate like, hey, I had a great time, or like, you know, weird things like that. I feel like on the girls' end sometimes it can be like overwhelming when the guy like tries to like say that and stuff, but also on the other hand you want to like know what the other person's thinking.
I think the tough part with that is that it takes two to tango. So like you can be really good at communicating how you feel, and like you could like drive yourself crazy because you're like, could I said it any better? Maybe not, because the other person still needs to be able to communicate back. Yeah. And that's kind of how like that's why we date, right? We find someone that we can actually like communicate well with.
That's honestly what I would say at the end of all this. Like water honestly like finds its own level. I would hope that someone that is good at communicating finds someone that's good at communicating. I have a lot of people close to me who are like still super young, but like stress out so hard on getting married. They're like, I'm never gonna get married.
It's crazy.
Everyone around me is married, and all my siblings are married. I am a big believer that moving forward and looking forward and moving forward with your education, with your goals and things like that, like you will find someone that also looks for that, you know, and has those intentions as well. Like, to me, I would hope that it would be as natural as that. I'm not to say that there aren't other ways to meet people, but to those people who really, really just stressed out and that's all they think about is just like how lonely they feel, and the best medicine for that is to set goals and like make motivation for yourself and recognize that even though you might not be going on dates right now, you're still adding to your like quality of yourself and your confidence, which will then be the perfect fit when you are ready or when you do meet someone, you know, like it's really hard when people feel that if they're not dating someone seriously, they're not progressing, or if they're not like almost engaged, they're not progressing, or if they break up with someone, they feel that they've taken 10 steps back. When you truly recognize, hey, no, I'm doing this for myself to move forward, then you're in such a better place to then take on someone, right? In my personal experience of like seeing people, they can't be alone, like ever. They're not comfortable with themselves, and so that's why they start dating someone seriously, and that is just so unhealthy to me.
It's the pressure that we feel, especially in the church, because like marriage is such a big deal, that I've heard people, they get married because they wanted to get married, and that was like their biggest goal. I'm like, there's like, there's like, especially what we believe in is like, there's covenants involved, there's promises, this is eternity we're talking about, and there's so much of a rush here, and so much pressure to get married fast, and it's just like, people get married within like 3 months of knowing each other, and I'm like, we were talking eternity here.
There's some key takeaways here from all that we've talked about, right? And I feel like one of them for me when it comes to kind of what I was talking about is like water truly finds its like own level, right?
I like that.
It really just goes to show that when you are intentional and motivated and like things like that, like I would hope that you would find someone like that, right?
Right.
I have a hope in that, I have faith in that that you will find that person so long as you're working on yourself and like moving forward, if that makes sense, rather than like looking side to side and like stressing that you're not. I
explained to my friends from back home the culture here, and it's really weird because people, they'll date for years until they finally decide like, okay, I want to get married to this person. And it's crazy that we put so much pressure, and so I feel like it's unhealthy pressure.
And it's just like, it honestly, thinking about the confidence that we can have in ourselves, it just reminds me of a quote that Otto Uchtdorf gave, or President Uchtdorf at the time, which he was talking about how much of the confusion that we experience in this life comes from just simply not knowing who we are. And I find that so important. Kind of what we were talking about with dating is just the confusion, the anxiety, it comes when we just don't feel, we aren't confident in ourselves and who we are, right? And so in that regard, we need to figure that out. And that's where our confidence, our surety can come, and our clarity can come at what we're really like finding and looking for based on, do we know ourselves?
There truly is someone for everyone, and there is no guarantee of when you're going to meet that person, but I am a firm believer that it's like no one is really worth losing your peace of mind over. I feel like people get so caught up in this one person. There's this girl that we went on quite a few dates, and I thought that we were very compatible, and she ended up rejecting me, and I took it so personal, took it so hard. And I remember I went home from winter break, and I came back, and the first date I went on when I got back here was my now wife. It's funny that how hindsight teaches you a lot, but there's no one that would be more perfect for me than my wife right now. And I thought, it's crazy to think of all the different people that I thought that I wanted to be with, that I like lost my mind over and lost my peace of mind over. And there doesn't have to be something wrong with someone for it to not be right.
I would argue too that there's not the one. I also believe that you can fall in love with literally anyone, so long as you spend enough time with them. And it's weird. So that's what I'm saying, is that it's like a lot more fluid than we think. It's not just God. Like sometimes people are like, okay, God, like give me my one true love, like right now. It's not, to me, it's not like that. It's a lot more fluid. And so you do have to be intentional. You do have to be careful, like with who you spend time with. If you truly like want to be with that person, then like be more serious with that. Obviously it depends on your stage of life. Like you have casual dating, like that's super fun and normal, but I think when it comes to like the more serious times, like if it doesn't work out with someone, I like have that hope and that faith, like, okay, then I will mesh with someone else. Like it will be okay, you know?
Yeah.
Like having that hope and that like the world doesn't end when you end things with this certain person. You know,
Right.
there's so many more connections, and like the person that you connect with, they might have pros and cons. They might do something that the past relationship didn't do, but you know what? They do something that person also couldn't do. It's more of like, what's my like fit, and who do I see like with this work for eternity? And
Right.
I mean, you've been married, or you are married, so like are you past the honeymoon phase, or are you still in it?
It's always the honeymoon phase.
Right, exactly. So he's still in it. No,
It's been a year. It's been a year. Life's going good.
Okay, good. Yeah, like what are your kind of thoughts on that when it comes to really, because you have to work at it, right?
Oh,
Even
yeah.
after marriage, people think that just like you get married and it's all good, right?
I think about it a lot, of why, like, I love my wife and why I feel like it works really good for us. I feel like I truly am myself. I'm not holding anything back from my
Good.
personality. I really feel like my full personality comes out when I'm with her. If you feel like you have to hold part of your personality back and it doesn't seem like getting better, then it's probably not a good situation to be in.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's the dangerous part of people rushing into marriage. We were dating for like a year, which in Provo and this culture is a long time. You know, if you're in a serious relationship or you're like vibing with someone, but there's still a part of you that feels like you're embarrassed or you can't show
That's
whatever
really
that
important.
may be, then maybe that's not the best relationship to be in. And that's a hard pill to swallow, because so many things, I like to look at things as like people fill different holes in our lives, and that people like get stuck in toxic relationships because someone fills like a certain hole that they just can't get rid of. And I think people get caught in this trap. And so for me, I feel like everything that I need out of a relationship I'm getting right now with my wife. But I thought I was going to get that with other people, and I did it, and I got so heartbroken thinking that, like, kind of how you were mentioning before, that like, oh, am I ever going to find someone? And I thought that's what I wanted, but it's not what I wanted. And
Right.
it's easier to look back on it now.
Yeah.
In hindsight, it's always 20/20, but
Yeah.
it's funny how things they truly do work out.
And I think ultimately, like what we're saying here is you have to find yourself. I feel like before you find someone else, is you find yourself, and you are able to be in a confident position
Right.
to be with someone for eternity. And that it takes hard work. And I'm not gonna say that like you're perfect before you go on your first date with
Right.
your eternal companion. No, but I feel like that self-confidence needs to be there. And kind of what we were talking about this earlier before, but just that role of confidence, what that means for yourself. And I feel
Right.
like you have to be self-assured, knowing what you want before you can like find that.
Everyone has something to offer, and we're all different. Being like an outgoing, extroverted, someone who's you talk to, doesn't necessarily equate to being a confident person.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
same thing as being an introverted person, someone who's quiet, more to themselves, doesn't really mean you're not a confident person. I just feel like it's playing things to your strengths and like allowing your personality to shine the best way it can. I know for me, I feel like I'm at my best when I'm with like smaller but groups of people.
Same.
But I don't do good in like big parties
Same.
and stuff, which is interesting because I'm a very outgoing person. But some
Right,
people,
literally same.
it's one-on-one is better for them.
Right.
Or whatever it is, but it's like whatever your personality is and what, you know, that's one thing you have to figure out what it is that, where do you feel like you're your best self? And then putting yourself in situations to show that to people, especially in dating. You don't have to be something that you're not. It's important to grow and learn from each experience. So like I feel like I truly believe that you attract what you put out. And so, you know, if this is a certain kind of person that you're going after, and they tend to like people that dress a certain way or look a certain way, you know, there's things that you can do to change that about yourself. You can act a certain way, talk a certain way, do whatever, which there's nothing wrong with per se if this is you growing into your personality. You know,
Right.
there is like growth and change is good, but you risk losing a bit of the things that make you special if you stray too far trying to impress people that isn't really someone that you're supposed to connect with or that you connect best with.
Well, what do you say to self-confidence for those that like are being themselves, who do feel like they're doing things right, but nothing's happening?
Right, and that's tough. You know, it even like, especially when we talked about should girls ask guys out, it's tough for a girl because the culture is guys ask the girl, and so you're just sitting there. Like a guy, it's a little easier because you can just go ask out more people.
Right.
But to your question, I don't really know because I think I felt
It's
that.
tough, yeah.
Like it's easy for me to say now that I'm married, but it was a hard road.
I forgot about that. I'm like, everything that he's saying is invalid.
But I mean, I was before we met in 21, and I was here for like 3 years. Just you know, especially when I first moved out here, one of my roommates, who's like out of all my roommates, he's the only one I knew. He had a very serious relationship, and so he obviously had to take care of that and was gone a lot, which he should be.
Yeah.
But it was tough, so I was just like trying to.
Yeah,
you know,
they're like off of the face of the
just
earth.
get rejected a lot, especially those first couple years, just a lot of rejections. And so I get it. It's tough because I feel like I knew what I had to offer. But on the flip side, I look back and I'm like, the person I was back then compared to the person I am now, I'm like, no wonder people rejected me back then. I don't know if that mean or because I'm like, not
at least it's coming from you, like to you, so that's fine.
I don't mean it like that, but it's just like I realize how much I've grown as a person and changed in my perspective, and I've matured.
Honestly, I think the same sometimes.
Yeah. Like, the person at the end of those 2 years is different than the person that
I
you
like
were
that.
a year ago.
It's so important. You have to recognize your own progression.
Yeah, and so it's gonna. I feel like this might be bold to say. It's gonna happen. You'll be fine. It's just one. There's way more time than people like. There's more time. You have time. It's fine.
Right.
It's eternity we're talking about. Like you're fine. You have time. And two, it's. I think we'd be surprised if we look back with how much we've grown as a person, especially if you're genuinely trying. Now, there's people that go on dates and they're just like right over their head of things that they could have done better, or things they could have been more
right,
like or learned from them, and they just keep doing the same thing. Like you gotta like. I feel like if you do nothing, nothing will happen. So if you're not changing anything, if you're not switching things up, if you're not learning, then nothing's gonna change.
People who are older, who are not married, still recognizing that you're still moving forward, that you're still progressing, and that will come. We're literally promised that, whether it be in this life or the next. Like God having His sole responsibility for us to multiply and replenish the earth, and also like create families, that being the strongest unit within His gospel. It's just, I don't know, that faith and that hope, it just cannot break my confidence that things will work out and that there is time. We really hope that people can take that away, is to recognize your own progress, whether you are in a relationship or you're not. God really has created us to love, but also to love ourselves. Yeah. I would only hope that each and every one of us can find that for ourselves, that love for ourselves, before we can share that with others, right? My mission president once, I was like talking to him about dating and stuff, and he showed me the scripture in Doctrine and Covenants when it said like, goodness seeks after goodness and like righteousness seeks after righteousness. So like you, with what you give out, like you will like attract. And again, like to that point, oh yeah, so many people that I know have like lists of like, this is what I want my husband to like be and like do. This is what my spouse to do. Like I want them to be this, this, and this, and this. Well, I would only hope that you can turn that around and evaluate yourself. Are you this? Are you this? Are you seeking after this? You are expecting perfection, but what are you doing on your own?
Like everything has a season, which is another scripture that I don't know the reference to. Everything has its season.
This is so embarrassing.
Whatever it is, someone look it up and see. But like, you know, there's time and place for things. I feel like, especially being a young adult, is a really like interesting time, because we'll never have a time like this before. You're out of the house, you're learning, you're growing. There's a lot of growth to happen right now, so don't take it too seriously. Like there is time. And just kind of enjoy each moment. You know, the time will come. You know, date around. Have a good time with it. Enjoy this time. We're not going to be young adults forever, because life gets more and more, just changes over time. And so there's a season for everything. I just feel like, you know, we put a lot of pressure on right now when we don't need to. Like there's a lot of time still. And so, you know, find out your personality, find out what makes you tick and things that make you thrive, and surround yourself with people that fit that, and then continue to grow as a person. And then the time will come for, you know, when dating needs to be more serious and eventually think about marriage. That'll come. It's just, you know, I think we push it too quickly.
Right, for sure.
So those are a lot of good points. I think so. Next time we'll definitely talk about more of like the red flags and green flags of people. The ick is what the kids are calling it these days.
Dating icks, we already know. Wait, we can't forget dating apps, right? That's how you met your wife. We're not married.
I've been married.
If anyone thought we were, we're not. He's married.
Family.
He's a married man.
We met on a dating app. Yeah, we can talk more about that.
Yeah, that's crazy. I actually know so many people who have done that. But that would be a good thing to talk about. Yeah, so next time, red flags, green flags, icks, dating apps, that'll be a good one. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Haley.
I'm Jared.
Yeah, and we welcome you to the fold, and we welcome you to come back to the fold with our next episode when we talk and continue more on dating.